I'm so happy that people want to come here and do that. It's a wonderful practice. And without further ado, we have Peter.
Jesus knew I would deny him. He told me so. As I sat with him at supper, he said, "You will fall away, for it is written." Jesus, our teacher, our miracle worker, our Messiah, is dead, crucified among common thieves. I could only wish that I had died along with him, just as I had sworn that I would, but instead, in the end, when he needed me the most, I denied ever knowing him. Before Jesus died, he told us all that he would return. He said, "But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee." And when he appeared to Mary Magdalene, he told her to remind us that he would be going ahead of us into Galilee and that he would see us there. So we came as instructed. But there's been no sign of him. We've been here for several days. We've been here just sitting around doing nothing except for complaining and doubting. Everyone was turning to me. They were asking me, "What are we going to do? What should we do?" I didn't know what to do. I had no idea. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and do what I know how to do best: fish. So last night, I set out to sea as a defeated and guilt-ridden man. As a disciple, I feel like I had been beaten by the Pharisees and the priests, the officials and the mockers. In my deep despair, I went to sea with 4 other equally beaten men, disciples all, to forget the pain and the loss, to resume the fishing lives that we once led. Well, we fished all night. As it turns out, we fished in vain because we didn't find anything out there in the darkness. The light that we made as disciples seemed to have been snuffed out, and yet the dark world of our past lives wouldn't even take us back. By dawn, we were doing nothing but weeping, hopeless wretches lost at sea. It was pathetic. We were pathetic. We were all safe inside this boat, and yet we were all drowning in our own self-pity. So exhausted, we just decided to call it. Turn the boat around, head back for shore. We'd figure something out once we got there. But just as we did this, a voice, it called out to us, it spoke to us. It was a stranger standing on the shore. He was far away, it was hard to hear, but once I listened, he said, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" Excuse me, it's been a long night, and I'm not really in the mood for sarcasm. I wanted to shout back. Before I had a chance, he continued instructing us to cast our nets on the other side of the boat, telling us that we'd find fish there. Who is this guy? He says this as if he knows better than us. I've been a fisherman my entire life. I'm sorry, but I think I know where the best place is to find fish. I wanted to shout back again. But to be honest, we didn't have much else on the agenda for the day. So we did it. And wouldn't you know it? No sooner that the nets touched the water, they were immediately filled to overflowing, in fact, nearly turning the boat over, casting us all into the sea. It was amazing. How could this be? Everyone was shouting. Again, I didn't know what to say. I just said, well, this is impossible. Something like this would take a miracle. We immediately stopped doing what we were doing. We looked back to the shore. As the sun rose, it glared off of the sea, and we had to shield our eyes from the glare, but we could see him. He was still there, the stranger standing there. But he wasn't a stranger anymore. It was Jesus, alive and well, standing there with his arms open wide. How could we not recognize him before? Well, there was no doubt in our minds now. It was Jesus. He had beaten him after all, just as he said he would. I got so excited. In my excitement, I dove right into the sea. I don't actually remember jumping into the water, but I just started swimming. I swam so fast. I felt like I needed to get to the shore first. I needed to get to him first, to relieve my guilt and beg him for forgiveness, for my denials and for ever doubting that he would return. When I got to the shore, Jesus, he had a fire burning, and he had some bread and some fish already prepared. But when everybody was ashore, he asked for some of the fish that we had just caught to be brought to him. Our Lord, he wanted to feed us first. But when we were finished eating, he then took me aside. He said he had some questions to ask me. Some difficult questions, it turned out. He asked me what at first seemed to be the strangest of questions. 3 times he asked me if I loved him. Each time watching me with these intense eyes. Well, 3 times I, of course, told him that I did. 1 time for each of my 3 denials. It was then that I realized that he was calling me Simon, son of John, instead of the name that he gave me, Peter. By the 3rd time, I was a broken man. Sobbing, I said, Lord, you know everything. So you know that I love you. And then he smiled. He smiled. I denied him. Hanging there on the cross, dying, I denied having any knowledge of him. And he smiles at me? In that one moment, with that simple act, I knew I was forgiven. In a moment, he healed me. He healed me as easily as he had healed any of the sick that we had met along the way. And if it were not enough, he gave me back my disciples' commission as well. He gave me back my life and my purpose, telling me to feed his sheep. So from this day forward, I, Peter, go into the world to declare to anyone who will listen that on this day, Jesus the Messiah is back from the grave. He's alive. He's alive. And he's working in the world. Come. Accept him. And let your guilty secrets and your pains fall away. He can do that for you. I know, because he's done it for me.
Ascribe to the Lord the honor due his name, bring offerings and come into his courts.